Hello everyone and welcome to another Django tutorial for beginners. So in this video series I've tried to build several small projects in Django so that it is a practice both for me because I'm also learning Django and I'm not a teacher in that sense, so I'm documenting my journey and I'm also practicing what I've learned from other sources to make more projects. Hopefully you will find them also helpful. And during my journey, I've realized that there are lots of projects out there on YouTube or on Udemy or other places that you can build. They're really nice, complicated, sophisticated projects. But what makes it the real difference is that you start from the beginning and for each step of the way, make projects. And then you, of course, you code along. You have to follow the tutorials in the beginning, but then gradually you have to just leave the tutorial and try to make things yourself. So what I did was I was following a tutorial, and this tutorial taught the students how to make a password generator. It's a very nice project to practice the fundamentals of Django, and I just uploaded and deployed it on Heroku. So this is how it worked, and I also put a tutorial for this on my channel. So this is basically you just ask for someone to for a random password generator. Now I want the password to have like 12 characters in it. I want it to have uppercase, numbers, and also symbols or special characters. Then I press generate, and this is the password which is generated with numbers, uppercase letters, and also symbols in it. It's a very cool project. And then there's also routing, that is you can go to home, you can go to about, and this also is generated dynamically, the year in Python, and this is basically what it was. But now today I'm going to make another project, and it's also simple, but unlike this one, so this project I didn't use any database because we don't need to draw data from database anyways. But for this one, which is more like a board for inspirational quotes, you can go to your admin area, and let me show you where. So this is the Django admin area, so that is your localhost /admin, and then here you simply enter your username and password and log in. Here you have some stories. Let's just go to the stories, and in the stories you can add to the stories or change them. For example, the last quote was this one. If you notice here, no pain, no gain, unknown. So I can add to this. Let me just show you. Let's add some zeros to it just to make sure that it works. We save it, we go back, we refresh, and you see there's a change. Or I can also add another inspirational story. Let's just say quote 7, and I just paste some. Okay, let me just write down some quotes. A journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and I have no idea who said that. That was a good thing anyways. And then you can choose a date. Let's just choose for today, and we save it, and now we have it here, quote 7. And if we go back to our website, we refresh the page, and you see it's here. So this is basically what we're going to make, and it's very simple, yet we learn a lot. And then after this project we are going to make a bigger project that is, it's like a portfolio, and this would be like one page of it, like a blog kind of page, and then you can insert blogs here, and then there is a button like more, read more, and then you click on it and the whole blog will be shown. But this can be a very good first step towards that. Okay, so let's start. I'm using PyCharm as my IDE, and I use it because it offers a great package of, well, auto suggestions, and it's a great place to start coding in Python. And this is a free version, so it's like the community version, and you can download it for free. Okay, so this has created a virtual environment for me as well. So I have this project Q Pro, and that's it, nothing special. Now we need to install Django on our machine first. So what we do, we go to the terminal, and let's pip install Django and press enter. So this should install Django in our directory of Q Pro. Okay, now that we have Django on our machine, we need to start a project. So to start a project in Django, and a project is just our whole web app. To start a project in Django, we simply type Django dash admin start project, all in one word, and then we give it a name. So I would just want to call it Q project. So Q project, and I just want to install it in this. I don't want it to install or create two folders, but only one. Now it should appear here. So this appears here, and this is our project files. So why I use this dot is because if I hadn't used the dot, it would have created another project within this. So it would be create Q project, and inside it another folder Q project. I just wanted to avoid that. Now what we have here is a number of Python files that we have. So the ones that we are concerned with in this project are settings and URLs. So settings, well, basically it's about the settings of your project, right? And you have your security key. Debug mode is true. It means that it gives you detailed information while during the development phase about the mistakes maybe you've made or things that might have gone wrong. Then there is loud host. So when you want to deploy your project on a website, on a web server, you use website.com or whatever, Heroku, and the name of the website here. Then we have some installed apps here. These have been installed by Django by default. So they're like admin, authentication, and others. So an app in Django is basically something like a component which is responsible for a specific functionality on your web app. For example, admin here is responsible for the admin panel. So when we are going to make this quote project, so we can have a quote app, so that app will be responsible for grabbing data, that is grabbing quotes when you enter author or the text and the date, and then display it on a web page. So we will create an app, we call it something like quote, and that app will be responsible. And we should also introduce that app to Django here. So we should call it, just write the name of it here so that Django is informed about the existence of such an app. Then there is middleware, which is about security. Then, yeah, we are not going to touch these. So, and the database is SQLite 3 by default, and this is for internationalization, that is time zone language. And this static URL, this is used for loading your CSS file, JavaScript files, or images. So yeah, in this video we're not going to also add any separate CSS file. We're going to use Bootstrap because it's much easier to handle in this stage. Then in our next project we will use a separate CSS file to style. Okay, the next file is urls.py. So urls.py, as the name suggests, is for paths and URLs and for routing, basically. So we have URL patterns here. You have this path admin. So it means that my website.com, for instance, /admin should do this functionality. And if I make another path, for example, let's call it path, and let's say about, and I need to have something which I will explain why it is as such. It means that your website, like example.com/about, it will be rendered via this views and this method, this function about, and so this is how it works basically. And if you leave it blank, it means that this is going to be a home page. So if just someone just types in example.com, so this is going to happen and be rendered to the viewer of the website. We'll talk about this much more actually later. Now another file is manage.py. So this manage.py is one of the most important ones that we will use here a lot. We are not going to touch it here, but we'll use in command a lot for running a server, for creating an app, and lots of other things to make migrations to our database and that sort of stuff. Okay, so that was a quick overview of what we have here. Now let's run our server to see if we have installed this project successfully. So to run our server, we need to type in Python manage.py that I just talked about, and then run server all in one word, and just click enter. Now it should give us a local host. Actually, yeah, it's like a URL, and like port is 8000. So if you click on it, or you just copy and paste it and go to browser, you should see this page. So this page is provided by Django. It means that we have installed Django and you have created the project successfully. If you don't see it, it means that you did something wrong. So this is a default page. Now let's get back. And you see there all sorts of information are displayed here whenever you add something, and if you want to stop server from running, you just click Control-C. Well, that's on Windows. I don't know about a Mac. So Control-C, and it stops the server. Now you can start typing and writing commands. Okay. Now our server is running and we have made the project successfully. Let's create an app. So, and we're going to call it, what shall I call the app? Let's just call it Quotes. Yeah, let's just call it Quotes because it's going to be responsible for grabbing the quotes and displaying the quotes. So to create an app, we just go again, like Python manage.py again, and then we just type start app all in one word, and we should give it a name. So let's go with quotes. Yeah, click enter, and now it should appear here, quotes. Cool. So let's see what there is in quotes. So here in Q project, which is the parent, let's say settings URLs here, and this is the quotes app. So in quotes app we have different things. So we have views, we have models, we have admin, we have apps, we have migrations, and in this one we don't have these. So what are they good for, these files? So they are responsible for different things. So views.py, for example, is responsible for creating some functions so that when someone goes to a web page, like example.com/about, here in the views we create a function called about, and we say, for instance, that we want this function to return a page, an HTML page, for example, called about, and then we create another HTML page called about somewhere. So these are connected like that. Someone types in an address, example.com/about, Then from this URLs, it is directed to views in our about section, if we have anything like about. And then here we have a function which is called about, and under the function it says return a web page, HTML page. And then this HTML page is shown to the viewer. So this is basically how it works. Now let's create something. Let's create a view here. So for creating a view, we should go to URL here, and we should say that we need a path, and that path should go to nowhere. Actually, it's going to be the home page, so you don't need to type in anything after .com, .org, .net, whatever. And then here we need to say views. So we are going to direct our visitor to views. Where is views? Yeah, to views. And then inside the views we need a function. Let's just call it again quote, or quote. Yeah, let's just call the function quote. Now, but how does this page know where the views is? So we need to import it. We say from quotes. Yeah, it's from quotes, and because it's in the same, actually, no, it's not. So yeah, from quotes, import views. Okay, now we have access to views. So from quotes, import views. Now we have access to views. So here we mentioned this views.quote. Now it goes like this. It goes to quote. Where is quote? It's in the views. Which views? Views from quotes. Okay, and now let's go to view to quote inside the views here, and we should create a function called quote actually. Oh, is it quotes? Oh, we haven't created a function yet. Okay, so let's create a function just like a Python function. So it's a def quote, and then here inside the parentheses we need a request. So we need to send a request to a page, right? So we need to send a request and we get a response in return. So what we should get in return is basically well, you need to use render, but now just for the sake of explanation, let's import from I guess HTTP request from HTTP. Actually, I don't remember this one. Okay, so it is from I just looked it up again because I was not sure about the exact words. So from Django.http import HTTP response. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, here, so from Django.http import HTTP response. Okay, now that we have this, we can say return HTTP response, and inside parentheses we can say we want you to return an h1 tag. It's an HTML tag, and let's just say hello world. That's a cliche, isn't it? Okay, so let's see what is happening here. So we're declaring a function here called quote, which sends a request, and then in return it sends a HTTP request, and then in return it gets a response, which is this one. So this is going to be displayed on our, what was the name of it again? On this, that is on the home page. So whenever someone goes to our example.com or whatever, it is directed to views.quote. So that quote. So then we go to views.quote. What do we have here? This quote is supposed to be the one responsible for what is happening there, right? So what is what is it that this is returning? An h1 hello world. Okay, let's go to our web page. The server is running, make sure it is running, and let's go to yeah, we have hello world. Okay, so we have managed to display something on the web page using views. So again, let me go over it again. So when someone goes to your website, it looks for just.com or / something. And if it's just the domain, that is yourwebsite.com, .com is actually a TLD, but anyways, .com, .net, .org, whatever. And if there is no / home or about or whatever, this is where it goes. And then it looks, Django looks for some views here. So what am I going to show to that viewer? So you should go to views and look inside the quote function. Where is this views quote? From quotes, right? So we go to views, and here we have a function called quotes. So this is going to be shown there when someone visits the website. But this is not the very convenient way of displaying information, well, unless it's just one line of code. But it's normally not one line of code, is it? So imagine you have like hundreds of lines of HTML code, and then there is huge amounts of CSS, JavaScript. So you can't just insert all your HTML codes here. That's why we're not going to use HTTP response. What we are going to use instead is render. That is, we want our function to return, that is, render something. And render, look at this information. This render has these parameters: a request and then a template name. So first, let's go with the request. Let's just say request. And then we need a template name. And templates are places where you can save and store your HTML files in. Something like about.html, code.html, something like that. So we haven't created any templates here. Let's just refer to them now, and then we'll create it. So we should enclose in a single or double quotes. Then we should make a folder, and the folder should have the same name as this one, quotes. So we say quotes / and let's just call it again quotes.html. Okay, so this is going to be the website which will be shown to the user. The web page actually that will be shown to the user when they go to our website. Now let's make it here. So inside the quotes, we need to create a directory. Let's just call it templates. Be careful about spelling. Inside templates, we need to create another directory with the same name as this one. Well, this is a convention, so it should be quotes again. And now inside the quotes, we can have our quotes.html. So let's create an HTML file and call it quotes.html. And this is our file. Let's just give it a name, a title, quotes. And here inside the body, just to make sure it works, let's go for an h1 and I say this is the quotes page. Save it. The server is running. Good. Now let's go back and check it out. Template does not exist. Quotes.html does not exist. Okay. Does it not exist? Maybe you made a typo or something. Okay, let's check again. So we have this function. We return this one, and okay, I think I made a very stupid mistake of. You remember in the beginning of the project I told you that you should introduce the app that you've made to your parent the settings of your parent project. So I think I haven't introduced it yet here. Let's go to our installed apps in our settings of Cube project. Installed apps, yes, we haven't mentioned it. So how do they know that it exists? What is the name of the app? It's called Quotes, right? And then there is comma here. Oh, okay, let's save this one. And now it should work well. So let's see. Oh yes, it works well now. So you see, sometimes stupid mistakes happen, but it's learning. Okay, now that we have it in place, now, okay, so we have done the settings. I don't think, yeah, we don't need anything else with the settings. And then we have this codes.html. And then this is our page, so we can do all sort of stuff here with it. And the URL, which this is the home page, actually, quote. So this is going to render our home page. Now, database. So let's create a table in our database now to store the quotes, that is the author, the quote itself, and a date, so that we publish them on our web page. So we need to go to quotes, and the file responsible for databases here for creating tables in databases is models.py. So models.py basically translates what you write here. You define a class, and whatever you call it will be the name of your table in the database. And a table is basically a place to store some columns, which is like author, like text, like dates, like whatever that you put in there goes inside a table. And that table in Django is created using class, which is basically a Python class. So in order to create a table, you write class, and let's give it a name. Let's call it quote. And this quote should have a parameter, and that is, for Django, it is models.model with capital. The second one is with uppercase. And now, so now we've created a table in our database, which is called quote, and it will store whatever we put in there. So we need some columns, right, to put there. For example, one could be author. Another one could be text, for example, and another one can be date. Now, how can we describe this data? How can I say that I want the author to be just a string, not very long? I also want the text to be, yeah, just a text field, and the date should be just date. So how can I do that here in Django? So for these things, for these fields in Django, they call it models fields. So let's go to the documentation to find out more about models fields. So here we can type models fields Django, and we have this reference inside the Django documentation. So you can read it if you want, but let me just go faster into Char Field. So Char Field is basically a string field for small to large size strings. So I would go with this one for the name of the author or a title or whatever. And then for large amounts of text, use text field. So our quotes are going to be very short, but just for practicing, let's use text field for the quote itself, for the text, and char field for the author. And let's see what arguments it has. So char field, then it has a max length and some options. Let's just copy this and go back. So the author, so in order to insert that, I cannot just say char field. I should say models dot models dot char field, and max length, let's give it a max length of 100. Yeah, it's just the name of an author. It shouldn't be longer than that, I guess. it's already too long. So yeah, let's go with 50. Yeah, and the text we can use the same because our quotes are not going to be long, but let's just use text field. It starts with capital. Text field, we don't need any max length for that. It doesn't have any requirements for that. And the date is the same again, models dot date field. And yeah, that's basically it. So we are creating a table so that we will see it in our admin panel. That in our admin panel we will have an author. We can just input like I don't know, Ernest Hemingway, and then a text, some quote from Hemingway, and then we can also put a date. Now what if I don't want the date to be mandatory? Because imagine these now are required. So if I don't want the date to be mandatory field, I can simply say blank equals true, and then if someone leaves it blank, it's still fine. But I just want to have all of them for now. Okay, now we have created our table. Now in Django, when you create a table or you make some changes in a database, you need to declare those changes. You should prepare these changes, or migrations they call it, first, and then you should migrate those changes. So what we need to do is to let's just stop the server, Control C, and let the database know that we have created something. So the way we do that is we go to Python again, as always, but manage.py, and make migrations. So make migrations prepares these migrations, these models. Now you can see that it has created a model quote for us. This model has been created, that is, the table has been created, but now we need to migrate it. So remember, after make migrations you always do migrate so that these changes take place. So migrate. Perfect, now we have it. So make migrations is basically something like applying for a visa, and then migrate would be just leaving the country. So yeah, and now we have our quote table inside our database. Now how can we access it? How can we just go and update the information or delete the information? So you can see that we have an admin.py here. Let's just click on it. So we have an admin.py here. This is an important area to get access to our admin panel. And so we need to register our models here. So remember, we just created a model, called it quote, capital quote Q, and now we have to register it here. So let's import first. So from where? From models, because it's in the same directory, from dot models import import quote. That was the name of our class, right? Our table. So we are importing quote. Now we need to register it into the admin page. So we do it like that: admin.site.register. Oh, it took me a long time to memorize this order. Admin.site.register, and then in parentheses we just put the name of the quote. So now we have inserted or registered our table inside the admin panel of our site. Awesome. But now we need to access the admin, and the admin needs a username and a password to get there. So let's create a username and a password. How do we do that? Again, in our terminal, we go with our dear message of Python manage.py, and here we should mention create super user. Let me see if I've spelled it correctly. Create super user. Okay, and click enter. Username. So we have to pick a username. I just want my own first name, Vahid. I don't want to enter my email address, and the password. So when I start typing the password, you don't see any movements there. in the field, but it's happening. Okay, so oops, let me go again. Now password again. Super user created successfully. Awesome. Now we can go to our admin page. So let's run the server again here, and we are good to go. So let's go back to our quotes. So let's see if it still works. It still works. Now /admin. This is our admin panel. Username, my name was Vahid, and well, it is still Vahid, and this is my password. And look at this beautiful, well, not that beautiful, but panel, admin panel. Now look at this one here, our quote. You see, so this is what we created, and Django just called it quotes, so it adds an S to it anyways, because there are going to be several of them. So let's go and add something to it. Look at these 3 fields that we have. Author, we just created these, remember? So author, which was a char field, that's why it is not that big. Then text was a text field, that's why it is bigger. And you can also kind of adjust that. And then date, which was a date field, and all of them are mandatory. That's why they're just bold. Otherwise you would see them like, yeah, not that dark. So let's just create something. Author, let's go with Mark Twain, one of my favorite authors. And text, age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. That's a very nice quote. So age is an issue of mind over matter. If you don't mind, doesn't matter. Now the date, let's say today. Okay, let's create, save here. So we've just saved one quote object. Awesome. Let's create another one. Let's say just unknown. I have no idea who said this, but yeah, no pain, no gain. Yeah, today. And if we don't enter any date, by the way, you will see some errors. So I save, you see, please correct the error below, and it is, the field is required. Okay, cool. So we have 2 now quote objects, but I don't want them to be referred to as quote objects, although they are objects, right? So this is one object and another, but I want it to be referred to as the name of the author. So how can I do that? I should go back to my models, and here models, yeah, inside our class we need to define like dunder method, so string, and of course self, and oops, and then this should return self dot author. Now the object is referred to as author. So perfect. Let's just see, let's refresh this page. You should, yes, unknown and Mark Twain. Awesome. So this is much better now. Okay, what else do we need to do? So let's go back. Now we need to try to go to our codes.html, and here we need to insert the information that we get from our database here. So who's or what's responsible for our HTML? Views.py. This one is responsible for the functions and things that happen there, right? And the way we do it is so models. Okay, let me see again. Now we need to, because we are going to pull our data from database and insert it inside this page. So here we need to say from dot models import quote. So we need to import our table, our data here, so that it knows what to do with it. And then here we need to grab every object. You remember it was quote object 1, quote object 2, so we need all those objects. So let's just put all those objects inside a variable called content, and we say quote dot objects, plural, all. So we are grabbing all the objects inside the quote. So all the objects, remember again, it was quote object 1, quote object 2, things that we change later. So we are grabbing all the objects and just putting them inside the content. So now inside our content, we have author, text, date. And then again, for number 2, author, text, date, right? So we need to loop through it to make it happen. Now, how can we reference this inside our quotes.html? So we need to insert it here using curly braces and say content, select dictionary, content. Now this content is this one, right? So now we are assigning this value to this key. Whenever we refer to this key in our quotes, it means that all the objects. So now we have access to all the objects, that is the authors, the text, and the data inside this one, so we can put it inside our HTML. Now, how can we insert it inside our HTML? Well, let's see. So what we need to do is we need to loop through them, right? So loop through content, the first one, and then we grab author, and then we grab text, and we grab date, right? So in order to make a for loop inside HTML using Django, this is how we do it. Curly braces, percentage signs surrounding it, and then we can put a function or for loop or if statement here. So say for let's say I, or for Q, actually for quotes, for Q in content, remember content is the object. So for Q in content, what is going to happen? So for Q in content, we're going to loop through it, and then for Q in content, H1 could be again, but this time we use double curly braces because we are passing some variables, some values here, not for loops or not functions or not if statements. So now so for Q in content, I want to spit out Q dot, what's author, right? Yeah, so Q dot author. So this is our first quote, which has author, author in it. And then let me just copy this part. And then we need a P tag for paragraph. And this time, instead of author, I want to, what was that? It was text, I guess. Yeah. And then here, another P tag. And this time, date. Date. Now we need to end our for loop, right? So again, the way we end it here is simply by doing this and just say end for. Now let's save this and let's go back to our home page to see if we have made, but let's see if the server is running. Yeah, the server is running. Okay, let's see if it works. Let's just copy and paste here. Oops, could not parse the remainder. Oh, okay, so oh wait, yeah, here we don't need this actually. Yeah, so for Q and quote, okay, yeah, we don't need this because it's inside these. Okay, we don't need that colon. And for now, let's save this again and go back and awesome, look at this. Now we have Mark Twain, age is an issue of mind over matter, if you don't mind doesn't matter, and this is the date. Again, these cool. So now we have these, so we can go back here and create another one. Let's just call it O. Henry, one of my favorite authors. So the last leaf was actually the name of one of the short stories. Yeah, it's not his quote, but anyways, the last leaf is a sign of hope for the summer. Yeah, some crazy quote. Anyways, okay, save. Now let's go back and refresh. See, we have it here. So whenever you just go to your admin, make something, add quote, and then save it, and then you have it here. So this is pulling from our database. Awesome. How awesome is that? Now, but this looks ugly. So we need to do something about styling as well. The best, well, actually the fastest and easiest, not the best way, is going to get bootstrap.com, build fast and responsive sites with Bootstrap. And here, go down below, well, let's go just for get started. Look for CSS, copy the CSS link. Let's go back to our homepage. And yeah, here, so just above title, let's just paste our link. Oops. Yeah, so this is our CSS, this is CDN to Bootstrap. So now we can use Bootstrap classes here without creating a different or a separate CSS style sheet. Now, the way we can use it is, so let's grab everything inside a class. Let's call it container. So div class container, and this is going to wrap everything. Now let's see how it looks. So you see it looks different, a bit different. It's not great still, but there's some margin now and the font has changed. Okay, so we can do much more now. Okay, so now what I want is to have an H1, and I want it, let's say, inspirational quotes. And here we need to have a class, a Bootstrap class, let's say text center. So I want it to be in the middle. Let's see if it works. Yeah, so now it's in the middle, but I need some margin from top actually. So let's go back. And here, MT means margin top. Let's say 5. And yeah, and let's refresh. Okay, now we have some. Okay, nice. And also let me change the background color, all of it to green. So to do that, we need to change the background of body, right? So we should give it a class of bg-success. So success is actually the greenish color for Bootstrap. You can see primary would be blue, warning would be yellow, danger would be red. So we need success. And now you have it. But the text should be all in white now because yeah, it's so dark. So we say text white, we save it, and okay, now we have it. Okay, now what else do I want to do? I want to have boxes like cards here, 1, 2, and 3, like this, or 2 in a row or 3 in a row, not just one, you know, not just like that. So let's see how we can make some boxes. So here, let's have a div. So this is a div that is going to be repeated over and over again, right? So we can have it here, and let's, oops, no, it should be above this actually. Yeah, so this one, oh yeah. Okay, so this should be looped over. Now let's just tab a bit. Okay, so now this is going to be repeated over and over again. So I want this to have, of course, yeah, a class, bootstrap class. So let's say that we want the background to be blue, and I want it to have a margin of 1. Okay, let's check what's happened for now. So let's see. Okay, cool. So now we have this background and we have the margin, but we don't have any padding. That's why it is kind of attached to the borders. So if we give it a padding, it means it would get a bit further. So let's go and have it some padding, and also some rounded corners. So padding on all sides. Let's say, I don't know, 3, and then rounded. Let's save that. Okay, it's much better now, right? So it is a bit rounded, and it's got some distance now. Cool, but still they're in a column, so I want them to be in a row. That's why we need to use Flexbox. How do you use Flexbox and Bootstrap? So we have this container, and okay, this one, because this is a parent div, so it should put all these quotes into different boxes or cards. So we would say dflex means display flex, so that they are in a line, horizontal, and then we want them to be justify content center. So we want them also to be in the center. Now let's save and let's go back. Now let's refresh. Cool, now we have it in a row, but this one is much longer than this one, so maybe we should specify a width as well, just to make sure that all of them have the same width, and also maybe some height. Yeah, we can do that. Let's do that. Okay, so each card, so this one represents each card, and here we need to give it a width and a height, but let's see. So we need to actually give it some styling, some inline styling, which is not always a good idea, but for now this is short. So let's give it a width of I don't know, 18 rem, yeah, and the height as well. So maybe we can give it a height of 20, yeah, 22 rem. Okay, let's see how it works. So okay, this is much better actually. So these are now justify content center, so these are in the center now, and yeah, that's cool for now. But if we go to a mobile view, for example, let's see, yeah, like this. Oops, you see that it goes to the left and to the right, but I don't want that to happen. I want it to be also responsive. So what we need to do is to wrap them in a flex wrap. So flex wrap is responsible for that. Now flex wrap, where should I put that? Okay, now Flexbox. Okay, here. So I just write flex wrap. Yeah, and also let's give it a margin, actually. Margin top of 5. Okay, let's save this and let's hope that it works. Okay, let's refresh. Aha, wow, awesome. Look at this. Isn't this cool? Responsive. Okay, so now that we have a responsive website, how cool is that? So it works also perfectly well on mobile phones. Now we need some more styling. Like I want to change this color and also this color. Now, you know, it's easy now. So we simply need to add some styling to this one, to the author. Let's just give it a class, and in Bootstrap, the text, I want the text to warning, which is kind of reddish, sorry, yellowish color. And then, yeah, that's it. And then here also for the date, let's give it a class of, again, text warning. And also I want some background as well. So let's go background dark. Okay, let's see. Let's refresh. Nice. But the background dark didn't work. Let's see why. Okay, dark. So BG dark means background should be dark. Now let's, awesome. Now the last change that I want to make is to put this date, well, maybe some padding as well, but I want to put this date on the bottom, I mean, like here. So I need to move it around this div, that is, this should be positioned as relative, so that we are able to move this around and position as absolute, and then bottom would be 1 or 0 something, or right also, yeah, 0 or 1 pixels. So let's change that as well. So here first let's deal with some padding. So padding, yeah, let's say 1, and now styling. So style, first of all we need to position this as absolute, because this is going to move around. But in order to position this as absolute relative to what? To this div, to the whole card. So this one should be positioned as relative. Okay, now that we have their attention, so absolute. Now where? So bottom, let's say 1 pixel, and right, also the distance from the right, also 1 pixel maybe. Yeah, let's check it now. Refresh. Cool. Yeah, maybe 1 was too much, but okay, you get the idea, it's fine. So yeah, the height is also fine, because most of our quotes are not that long anyways. That's why we specified a certain height. And this works really well also on mobile devices that you just saw. And yeah, that is basically it. So let's just go and add another quote. Let's just have my name, Vahid, and let's I don't know, love is like a dove. Rise high and above. Okay, what kind of quote is that? Yeah, but anyways, so let's just save it. Let's go back to our quotes. Let's refresh, and then you see it here. Cool. And then they will be added, you know, like this in a row. So this is awesome. Now, thank you for watching. So remember, next time, next tutorial, we will be adding also images to these, and also some buttons, so that if you click on more or read more, you can have an access to a blog post, for example, about Mark Twain, or some other things. So we are going to build this step by step, and along the way we will learn a lot. Well, I learn a lot.